Who are the coolest dudes on the planet?
United States veterans.
What's the coolest sport on the planet?
Pro wrestling.
And what would be the coolest podcast on the planet? That would be this one.
U.S. military vets talking pro wrestling.
This is the No Shave Man Cave. Two badass disabled vets sharing their love of pro wrestling, giving you their perspective as fans, talking about current events and matches, history of titles, and who knows what else. Let's do it.
Welcome to the No Shave Men Cave. Now your hosts, Ellie Jair and Jay Tilley.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wrestling fans and sports entertainment fans, welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
I'm Jay Tilley.
Dude, can wrestling get any better if you are a no shit pro wrestling fan than it is right now with AEW hitting on all cylinders, NWA, Impact, and then you've got the sports entertainment piece. Man, what do you think, man? Talk to me.
Man, I'll tell you what. I did not even finish watching Dynamite last night. I turned it off because I thought it was a garbage show. Man, in general, yes, I'm a huge AEW wrestling fan, but that was rough last night. So before we get into it and I start yelling and screaming in my disappointments, I will say
your pressure points. Yeah.
The news that broke today that Tony Khan donated everything he made from that sponsorship for Texas Chainsaw to the Maui Fund that's good stuff. And that's one thing AEW is really good at is the community services and the donations and all that. That aside, what the fuck?
What the fudge?
I'm just going to say it. Was that match. That was the most horrible, what a way to ruin, I thought the zombie thing was bad.
Oh, no, you didn't.
This was right there with it. I'm just like, what is going on here? I was so disappointed.
For all of our fans, if you go back into your wrestling Rolodex or Google YouTube Zombie Battle Royal, you will understand exactly what my boy Jay Tilley is talking about because, bro,
they had... Just to give you guys, if you hadn't seen it, they had wrestlers dressed up as zombies outside the ring, and if you got thrown out there, the zombies are going to attack you. But it left me speechless. I didn't even watch. I turned it off, so I missed the last few minutes of the show, which was actually, I take it back. I think I watched the Britt Baker match this morning, but I haven't seen the Young Bucks Guns match yet because I was just so flabbergasted at how brutal that episode of Dynamite was. It was all over the place, and there was some good stuff mixed in, but also some really terrible stuff mixed in, that match for one. And I knew going into it kind of what to expect. I'm like, this is going to be a cheesy, plunder brawl, but come on, the pouring the fake blood on them and shooting it all in the red, and then Leatherface coming out with one of the worst Leatherface masks I've ever seen chasing. I was like, oh. And I'm okay with doing sponsorship and corporate synergy. That's fine, but man, come up with something better. And I think if the rest of the show would have been okay, better, it might not have bothered me as much. But there was just a lot on this show that I had a hard time with. The Kenny Omega stuff, the way that was edited and produced looked terrible. Not necessarily the beatdown and everything, but the fact that he's sitting there in an interview and then Don Callis walks into frame. I've been to Daily Place where they were sitting. He'd have seen Don Callis coming for 10 minutes. Come on, man.
It's and then when the scene from
Monty Python is what I thought about.
Well, yeah, Monty Python's or The Spy That Shagged Me in one scene where he's like, come on, man.
Yeah. I thought Monty Python where they're storming the castle. And then they just kill him. Yeah. But so then the beatdown happens by the Bang Bang Gang, and they kept cutting back to Jim Ross, who was just like he didn't know what to do. And I love Jim Ross, but
Do you feel like Jim Ross is at the same point in his career as the Hardys are in theirs?
To an extent, yes. I don't think Jim Ross is. I don't think he needs to like go home and never do anything again. I think he's probably a great road agent, but I take that back. I mean, his commentary,
an ambassador or something, yeah.
Yeah, but his commentary on Collision's been great. So he's got that, but it's just like I almost felt like he didn't know they were going to cut back to him during those clips. So because like they're beating Kenny Omega and he's just looking around, and then at one point they cut back to him and he's standing up and he goes, "Somebody should get some help." I'm like, "Yeah, go get help."
Yeah,
it was man. But
you remember during year one, old JR inadvertently said WWE.
Oh yeah,
and they crucified him, and now. It's like we don't talk about the referees anymore because they're doing so much better.
Yep.
I hate to admit that I feel like the women's booking across professional wrestling has gotten a little bit better. So I can't really argue about that. Is it great? No, but you're sort of swaying away from it. And it feels like JR is now a topic that we don't like. It's like Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. And my boy, like he's so engaging and entertaining on his podcast. He has a couple of other ventures that he's part of that he's very involved in. And then
his books are phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah. And whenever he's on an interview of any form or fashion, he hasn't been on a couple of the big ones that we generally listen to lately, but he's been doing some of those smaller ones. And shout out to Van Fleet. He is popping right now and super, super excited for the traction that he's getting and his following. But yeah, I feel like
he follows us too.
Hey,
on
appreciate
Twitter.
it, brother.
Yep.
So you've got, JR, Taz is straight cash. Like, just keep the press printing because he's just awesome. Excalibur is Excalibur. He's coming out with all those funky indie, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious suplex. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And, so yeah, it's really, I'm even with for AEW that you walk away, you're like, we didn't advance any storylines. We did destroy a couple cars in a parking lot and the best friend's mom's van and every windshield inside the employee section of the parking over there at Daly's place smashed. So,
yep.
But yeah, even the misgivings, I feel like at this point, like AEW is giving us something that the WWE, I don't want to say can't, but it's almost like they think at a different level. And AEW is, I don't even know how to put it. It's like, like watching, I don't know, like you're watching the difference between the SEC and, the Sun Belt. It's different. It's still football. It's still whatever, fans relate to it accordingly. But I really feel like AEW is listening to the fan. And when they have like a big whiff, you're like, you know what? You can't bat 1,000 and it's whatever. Right. But then you look back and go, but they knew better. And like,
right. Man. Yeah. And this show, and Tony Khan even tweeted that the fact that, they kind of threw this one together at the last minute, the Fight for the Fallen, because he wanted to support the fires in Maui. So understanding, and then I think in his tweet, he even mentioned the fact that they had already signed to do this Texas Chainsaw thing for the sponsorship, so they couldn't pull it. And like I said, I love the idea that he donated all that money, like $100,000.
If you go on to aeshop.com or AEW.com/shop, their store, that Fight for the Fallen shirt, it's a tie-dye themed one. It's pretty slick. I love me some tie-dye. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, all proceeds are going to that charity that the food banks and everything. So really, really like noble stuff, but I just felt like the show was rough. I mean, even some of the all-in build, I got a little disappointed in. So we had Yuta and Orange Cassidy in that first match, which was a pretty decent match. However, it ends with the beatdown with, BCC jumping Orange Cassidy, which he gets the win. And I also think that's the first time anybody's kicked out of Wheeler Yuta's seatbelt pin. I'd have to check that, but I think that's the first person to kick out of it. But, you get Moxley and Claudio jump in and beat him up. Then the best friends come out. BCC still gets ahead. Then the Lucha Brothers come out. Then they get the advantage again. And then you get Eddie Kingston come out, which awesome. Fantastic to see Eddie Kingston back. But then we get a 6-on-6 Stadium Stampede match. And I'm just like, Stadium Stampede worked. And I liked both of them.
Yeah.
They worked in the pandemic age, but those were in empty to almost empty stadiums. How are we going to do 80,000 people in the crowd and do a Stadium Stampede? Now, what I think is it's actually going to be more like an Anarchy in the Arena, but because they're in a stadium, they're going to call it a Stadium Stampede. Maybe it's in the wording, but at the same time, like I was really hoping for a Moxley,
I feel like
Orange Cassidy one-on-one match, and then get Kingston and Claudio, get the one-on-ones.
That'd be a good one.
And yeah, exactly. And I get the fact that 80,000 people, it's on track to be the biggest, and I've got to say this because WWE fans get mad. The biggest single day wrestling event. Yeah, one day. It's on track to be the largest wrestling crowd in one place at one time, not spread over 2 days. Legit crowd too, not inflated numbers that we sometimes get at wrestling crowds. I mean, it's on track to like break records. So I get the fact that you want to put as many people on it as possible. And I am sure when you and I are sitting here watching Anarchy in the Stadium Stampede, we're probably going, oh, yeah, this is great. It's just one of those things like I'd rather see some of these solo matches and then give me a battle royal. As much as I hate to say that, like, if you want to get other people on the show,
it's not a zombie one.
Yeah, don't do a Texas Chainsaw battle royal. Hey, you know what though? That one they did a month ago, the 21 for the Orange Cassidy's title, that was a hell of a battle royal.
That was fun, and it was like, I don't know if it was fun because I wanted it to be, but I think it was even more fun or funner because Orange Cassidy was actually involved,
right?
And he had a little bit of control with his destiny. So it wasn't just like this flippant, get a ladder, I'm at the top, I'm going to grab a gold, a big gold Cheerio ring. Or, yeah. So, I get the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's very symbolic. Andre's, such a heroic, part of professional wrestling history. But yeah, when you can really get a really cool theme and you get awesome participation and like we were talking about earlier, Orange Cassidy was in control of his own situation, and he sort of put himself in that, right? So he was like, even to the point he invited Renee.
You want to be in it too?
You want to be number 22? No, I'm good.
Yep.
He just like gives, and for those of us who aren't watching on the video, I have my Orange Cassidy not thumb up. So yeah.
Yeah, but so we know they could put together Battle Royal, which who knows? We still might get an announcement of some Battle Royal. So we built that match, which there is that mystery of who the other three on the BCC side is going to be. So I'm a little intrigued by that. Are we going to see, Bryan Danielson and maybe a Shuda and somebody else? Are we going to see? I have no idea who the BCC is going to pick. I was trying to think of like who's been feuding with the Lucha Brothers and like AAA and stuff, and maybe they'll show up. But I know Penta just lost an ambulance match to QT Marshall. Don't put him in this. But I don't know, like maybe Roosh. Like I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going to go.
Yeah. How about a Jey Uso?
That could be nice. There you go. Jey Uso showing up. I think the Jey Uso thing is a work.
So I am a day behind in all my podcasts right now. So I apologize to all our podcaster brothers and sisters. And one of the podcasts that I go through, they were talking about the significance of the Usos in wrestling history in relation to the bloodline, not the bloodline, the story, but the actual Samoan bloodline. And then you sprinkle in the actual name of the bloodline. And I was like, dude, imagine if old Jay Fatu shows up in Impact. And you have Trinity, who's the sister-in-law of Jay Fatu.
Oh, yeah.
And like, is Rikishi now going to show up? Like, if you could play some kind of both sides of the fence, RVD got approval from the WWE to do the AEW show, and he's still going to be part of WrestleMania. And you're like, dude, that is so sick and awesome for both companies. And it almost feels like just shy of an olive branch. But imagine if you could get a fucking storyline, almost like, two different universes colliding, and you can get Jay Fatu on one show and the Usos on another show, and somehow they can make it work to, Swerve and, even maybe advance Impact, not to the point where I hope WWE Endeavor / TKO Enterprises does not try and buy Impact and merge them, but it would, I agree with you though. I think it's a big Swerve, and he's going to show up, and we're going to have at WrestleMania when we're sitting there, we're going to watch the Uso brothers go for the family name, a noble tribal combat,
in a tribal combat,
a brotherly love street fight, or a Tongan death match, whatever we're gonna call it. Basically a sexy no DQ match that you can sell a t-shirt
there you
on.
go.
And it's unfortunate too, because as much as we talk about it, or the brothers talked about, I'd love to have a match with my brother, they're almost the greatest tag team in the WWE WWF history, behind some of the greats. And then, the modern era between the New Day, the Usos, Edge and Christian, Hardys. You've got to put the Usos in there. And I'd hate for their history to end that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never want to see the Guns go through this, because I think their characters are so different, and they're stronger as a unit than they would be individually. And I know that was a quick swerve back to AEW, and they're such a young tag team. They're probably not going anywhere in the singles world anytime soon. You never.
Right. Well, just to keep it going with the AEW, you mentioned Swerve several times there. Let's go on to the match that I thought was really damn amazing, and that was Swerve Strickland's opponents. That'll be at All In, which is one of his opponents, which is Darby Allin and Nick Wayne against the Mogul Empire there. What a big man versus little man match that I absolutely enjoyed every minute of. Nick Wayne is he is amazing now at 18 years old. I can't imagine what he's going to be like as he gets mic skilled training and, gets some of the learned information that being on a live show is going to, or live taped, whatever you want to call it, but on a TV show is going to give him, because working in independence, I'm sure, is a lot different than being in front of all those cameras and knowing where the hard camera is and all that. But holy cow, man, what a match. And I hope he shows up at All In, even if he's just in the corner of Sting and Darby Allin, just so he could feel that 80,000 people. I mean, that place is going to be humming with excitement, I think.
Dude, you're going to see, and like we talked about this before, I think a couple of times. So the community is already enthralled with their soccer team. They're used to having that stadium there packed to the gills, but you've got, you're gonna have shows and people from AEW and wrestling fans and wrestling media from all over the world starting the Tuesday prior, and the environment, the energy, the streets, the energy is going to be, you can almost feel it. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's going to be palpable. You're going to feel holy, almost like when you've got one window open in your truck and your ear starts you're going to feel that kind of energy. And dude, when, they start singing Jericho's song, dude, if they open with Ospreay versus Jericho, and I'm already disappointed that it's not going to be Ospreay and Omega, or Ospreay and, another up and coming Ospreay and Guevara, something that you could really sink your teeth into, and they're working toward passing the torch. I don't know that Jericho's ready to pass any torch, and unfortunately it turns into a storyline going on too long, but you can't have a bad match with Ospreay, and I hope Jericho's ready. But yeah,
I think Jericho will be ready. Mm-hmm. I do. I think it'll be a great match. I would almost put money on the fact that it opens, because he knows he can't main event, so he's going to politic his way to be the first pop of the night. And yeah, them singing Judas, especially him going in as a face. Oh, Judas is going to go nuts, and the match I think will go fine. I did appreciate a little bit of Jericho's commentary on when he was talking about the fact that they were supposed to take each other on in 2019 when he was in New Japan, and then the pandemic hit and he couldn't do it. I was like, okay, all right, so this is something you guys were planning on. I'll buy it a little better. Mm-hmm. It made me buy the story a little more. Okay, so Ospreay's pissed because you missed that. Got it. Okay, I'm a little bought in now. I also really like that segment with Don Callis and Jericho. When he said, "Yeah, I'll join you." What? You said yes? And then he didn't want to show him the painting. And that was great. Like a really cool way to set all that up, because when he said yes, I'm like, oh, like it was such a roller coaster of emotion, because I was like, oh, cool. We're not going to get Ospreay Jericho. We're going to get Ospreay and somebody else. And then I was like, oh, we are going to get Ospreay and Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh, that ought to be pretty good though.
Yeah.
And then I can't name another wrestler that has gone from turning heel to face again in the matter of 5 minutes.
Seriously.
Like, he came out almost as a face, immediately turned heel to join Callis, and then turned face again to attack Callis. So I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think the he's the JAS has disbanded. They will or won't be involved. I don't think they will. Aussie Open or the Empire, I don't think will be any play in it. I think Jericho will come out in his current moniker and not in that Painmaker, sort of blackened out kind of a thing.
Right.
So, yeah, I've seen Osprey wrestle matches where he wasn't, flying off the top rope, and they're still really good matches. I just don't think Lionheart is still there for Jericho, and he's only got a couple of moonsaults per match. And I don't want him to show his ass, especially in such a huge show, not just for wrestling, not just for AEW, but whoever opens the show is going to get that freaking lightning, just like Dr. Brown was looking for the 1.1 watt gigawatts or whatever. It's a good thing that Wembley doesn't have a roof, because that mother trucker would get blown off by some dedicated AEW faithful coming out.
It's like, was it Bubba Ray that tells the story about when he made his return at, I think it was Royal Rumble, or maybe it was Mark Henry. I don't remember exactly who it was. I remember it was on Busted Open, and the crowd was so loud, the energy was so strong that he literally blacked out before he walked down to the ring. I'm like, that's impressive. Like, that's and I believe it. Yeah. I can imagine being 80,000 people projecting their energy towards you. Yeah, I think Jericho will rise to the occasion. I think it'll be a fine match, and they have to put on a good show, because if they're going to make this their WrestleMania, so if you're looking, this is WrestleMania 1. This is AEW staking that in the ground, saying, look, we just packed 80,000 people into an arena.
That's good analogy, by the way. Very, very good analogy. Yeah. Wow.
So this is them saying, look what we can do.
That is,
and there is all kinds of chatter on Twitter and in wrestling media about the card not being built well and all that.
Come on.
So the same thing happened with Forbidden Door 1, right? Like, we all went in going, this build's been not so good. And then the show was amazing. And I'm almost wondering if this is like a Tony Khan thing, where he doesn't know how to book the first one, so he gets nervous and doesn't know how to throw everything together, and then relaxes a little, because I kind of feel like that's how this is going. The builds have been kind of off. I also think a lot of it has to do with getting as many names on the card into the building as he can, which makes sense. Give those people what they want. But I feel like the build's been but I have a feeling that on the night, we're going to be sitting here talking about, oh my gosh, can you be like Ibushi and, Takeshita are going out in the ring, and what a match. And Hangman and Juice Robinson are just beating the hell out of each other. And we're going to love it. And it's going to be in our veins. And Lord knows what's going to happen with MJF and Adam Cole.
0 hour.
They did.
0 hour. You have your Ring of Honor tag team champions, Aussie Open, phenomenal tag team, just a fun tag team to watch, and your AEW World Champion and one of your most popular wrestlers, 0 hour, opening it up for the ROH free. Tag Team Championship for free.
Yep.
That's just,
and
wow.
The skit they did was so good. They take it to Outback, and man, that bloomin' onion was awesome. Outback's going, there's some money.
There we go.
Cha-ching. And when they're getting yelled at by Tony Khan, and he opens the door, and or MJF says something about, oh, we'll wait till 2024, because then I'm going to hold this again. So he opens the door, he goes, hey, hi, Tony. He's all nice suddenly. And I love how Tony, switch. You hear him screaming in the door, and when the door opens, he's back to mild, meek Tony we've always seen on TV. And he walks away. He's like, I was just about to tell him off. Man, that was so much fun. And I know it's going to come to an end, right? Like, All In, I assume. I don't see them shaking hands at the end of the match. And patting each other on the shoulder. Or maybe they will. I don't know, but I want them to because I want this to keep going. It's so much fun.
Yeah. What if there's like some kind of I don't think the main event could go to a wonky finish like the ring rope breaks or they're out of referees and the match has to end and they're going to finish it at All Out instead of, it's got to end.
Not at this show.
Yeah. It's got to be a definitive, the fans go home happy. And, I could see them changing it on the fly because the crowd is going to start vibing. The ref's going to go, hey, just got the call. We're going plan B. And
could be.
Yeah.
Or either way, I mean, CM Punk's got a match on this show. I was going to say, can you imagine CM Punk walking out at the end there too? Like, you've got your belt, but here's the real belt. And then you set up All Out, is CM Punk versus whoever that champion's going to be. But I don't know if that'll happen or not. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, like, because you mentioned CM Punk, and now I have it in my head because, like, dude, we talked about it the other day. Like, I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm waiting for CM Punk to do something wonky. Boom. 24 hours later, hey, send these guys away from the building, blah, blah, blah. Damn it, Punk. Come on, dude. Like,
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I read those stories and and then he cut the promo on Hangman after the fact, which he came back out and apologized for. But in the back of my head, I'm still going, this is all a work. Like, he can't be that much of a asshole. I mean, they've got to work and do business. And I just, like Ryan Nemeth, like, really, you're going to kick him out? Like, the dude barely is on TV anyway. He was supposed to be there to work a match. Like, you're going to cost this guy money and not let him wrestle in the career he's wanting to do. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm hoping it's all leading up to, like, something in a year, 2 years, however long they want to take in some kind of invasion angle. And, we'll have them finally have that match. But maybe he is that much of a jerk and that much of a, well, if my guy can't be here, your guy can't be here kind of stuff with Christopher Daniels. But it would just be strange for all that to happen, I guess.
I don't know, man. Nonetheless, CM Punk, he'll be 22 minutes of, he'll be 22 minutes of 240. So he'll be just under 10%, which is fine. Because you have to have that, 10% sprinkled in. So Punk's match will occur. He'll walk away. Not sure if it's going to be Stark or if it's actually going to be Samoa Joe. And if it is, I hope Samoa Joe hits him with the Karakuda. But yeah.
Well, he choked him out Saturday.
That's a good point. And why they didn't have that on camera. You think so?
Oh, I thought it worked out all right. Like, I like the fact, like, where's Punk? Yeah, like, where's Punk? And then they kind of cut to him, like, he should have been back in the ring by now. And they cut to him, he's getting choked out. I was like, that kind of worked. I don't mind. So, like, some of the production, I say in quotation marks, flubs that they do, I don't mind all the time. Like Anarchy in the Arena, sometimes you miss some of the main action, but I like that hectic, chaotic feel. And I think the Samoa Joe thing is part of that, right? Like, he attacked him, and in all reality, we wouldn't have known he was going to attack him. So the fact that he did is like, oh, God, we got to cut this. So I kind of like the fact that it leaves a little bit of that realism in it. To me, at least.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the fact,
it makes it feel less produced. Oh, crap. It's like, this is breaking news. CM Punk has just been choked out. So that's a strong point. My WWE brain has got everything so overly produced that if you're not on your marks, it's almost to the point where they have blue painter's tape. So blue painter's tape. Yeah. So
must stand here to take drop
there's
kick.
White painter's tape because the titles are white. The tag team championships are red and blue, so red and blue tape, you're here. And enhancement talent is black or whatever, like rainbow something. Yeah, there you go.
That's got to be rainbow because of NXT. The rainbow colors.
Dude, that's freaking hilarious.
But yeah, I didn't mind that. I thought it was okay. I thought that was, and man, I tell you what, Collision continues to put on shows that I'm just like, this is good stuff. Like, he can be an asshole and be kicking people out of the building, but if he's the one booking that show, I'm like, he's doing a good job. In my opinion, he's outdoing the Elite right now because I just don't feel like there's much to their storyline stuff right now. Although I am starting to pick up things, right? Like, so we've got Hangman on Dynamite with the whole hospital they said he was at, which didn't look anything like a hospital, but he's drinking a beer. And I was
what
like,
kind of hospital is it?
that's interesting because, if you go back through the evolution of Hangman too, right? Like he was with the Elite and was drinking, which caused him to have issues with them. Then they throw the drink in his face and turn on him. Well, then he's drinking because he's alone and has no friends. He stops drinking, hooks up with the Dark Order, gets nice and not drinking anymore, and he talks about being all sober and everything. Then he rolls back in with the Elite, and then we see him with a beer in it. I'm like, man, there's like, is this working with the Elite, driving him to drink because he can't handle some of this stuff? Like, it was a little subtle thing, but it's enough to where you're like, okay.
That's really that's a good pickup too. So you've got this like whole dynamic of who is Hangman Page, and he's gone through this whole character evolution, and he and Jericho competed to be the inaugural AEW champion, and he wouldn't wear that championship for 2 years after that. So like, does he still have a chip on his shoulder because Tony didn't think he was ready to be the first champion, which still to this day I think was the smartest thing to do. You put the title on Jericho, you make it credible because he's the Ocho. Well, he was the Cace. He would,
non-Ocho.
So yeah, I mean, that's very interesting, so he's gone through this whole career evolution, character evolution. He was tag team champions with Omega. He had a falling out. He won the title. He lost the title, and he lost his eye. He was gone. Now he's back, and he's Hangman. But what version of Hangman are you getting? And when you mention about him being the Elite, and they were so celebratory a couple weeks ago, hey, just so everybody knows, the Elite is here to stay, and we've extended 4 more years. But yeah, that's an interesting, fun twist to a already awesome story of AEW going from this fledgling company to freaking filling Wembley. Dog it. Woo.
Well, and now this may be really me reaching, but I also wonder if there isn't something to the fact that he's drinking a beer and the guy who's calling him out and talking trash to him is all straight edge, no alcohol, no. Is there something else to this story? Like, I that may be way over analyzing that, but heck, why not? Like, it can't be that much of a coincidence that he's got a beer in his hand on the night that CM Punk kicks him out of his building and says you can't take beer. So be very interesting, very, very interesting to see what happens down the road. So we didn't really get a chance to talk about Raw this week either because we had some issues on Tuesday. But what did you think of Raw this week?
I had my WWE hat on, loud and proud. Really am digging a lot of the storylines, and I'm trying to figure out what we're building toward. Are we building toward a huge return? Are we building toward Payback or WrestleMania next year? It just feels like everything's kind of building on itself on Raw. And then I feel like it's imploding on SmackDown. And then I hear, I think it was Tuesday, that basically said, hey, the Bloodline's going away for a little while. I'm like, okay, well, define a little while. And last time I Googled wrestling rules from 100 years ago, a champion has to defend their championship within 30 days or they have to relinquish the title. Oh, my bad. We're trying to get Roman Reigns to, 27,000 days as champion. So, yeah, this whole deuces ooses thing with Jay leaving, I sort of like it. I think it's fun. I'm really digging the character evolution with Jay, and Jimmy has really surprised me with his mic work. Doesn't seem nervous, doesn't seem, anything. We're watching, if you're watching some of the oopsies in wrestling promotion type stuff, local promoters, they are releasing posters in advance of announcement. So you see, oops, my bad, Rikishi's on a poster, and you're like, dog, come on, man. That's just Bush League. And I get people are trying to sell tickets at the Youngstown Civic Center. I'm sure they need all the seats filled that they can get, but damn. So no, I'm really digging Raw. I'm really digging, the whole general manager role. I think that's awesome. And then you have the freaking prototypical Karen walking around with the tag team championships. And dude,
I love Piper
oh
Niven. Nope, that's
nope.
mine. Give it to me. I was like, all right, I'm down with
I'll
this.
take
This
it.
is cool.
I think there's going to be a twist that will have Chelsea tell Piper, "Hey, this isn't working out," or something's going to happen because this Chelsea Got Talent thing. Oh man, and God, yeah,
What they could do is do the Chelsea's Got Talent thing, and then every person she's like, oh, I like this person. Piper Niven just destroys. So everybody comes out and does their thing, and then Piper Niven just like in the backstage while they're walking back gets crushed, and then Piper comes out and it's like, well, I'm the last one left. It's got to be me. So they could do something fun with it. I agree. It's funny because the reason I asked you is because I actually enjoyed Raw more than Dynamite this week.
Which is crazy, right?
I mean, like I said, there was some good stuff on Dynamite, and I enjoyed parts of it, but I found myself sitting and kind of chuckling at Raw and intrigued at something. Now, there were typical WWE things, like the Indy Hartwell match ended the exact same way the JD McDonough match ended, with a roll up after distraction but like JD McDonough got a little more of a push. But like there were things that I got frustrated with, but I still enjoyed it more than I seem to enjoy. And maybe I was in a bad mood yesterday. I don't know. Maybe when I watch Dynamite back again, I'll enjoy it more. But
yeah,
I got frustrated with the Stadium Stampede, Anna Karen Arena, whatever they're going to call it, 6-on-6, because I really was hoping to just see, heck, even Kingston versus Mox. Like I was hoping something more would come out of that. So I was a little disappointed. Again, on the night it'll be great. Then the Texas Chainsaw thing, I'm just, what am I watching? I don't want to watch this. And I didn't. I ended up turning it off and walked out of the room, and like it was on. Well, I didn't walk out of the room. It was on, and I wasn't really paying attention. I was doing I was on my phone and doing stuff, which usually in AEW I don't. I sit and I watch it.
Yeah.
And I was doing stuff, and then I watched the Bunny and Britt Baker match. Decent match, good enough. I mean, it was in the death spot that they like to put women's wrestling in, so I was a little disappointed it didn't main event.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I was like,
Bunny back too.
That was good to
cool.
see, because she's been out for 6 months, I think I heard. So definitely good to see her back. And I didn't even watch the Guns Young Bucks. At that point, I was like, I don't really want to watch much more of this. So I need to go back and watch it, because I am a huge Young Bucks fan and I feel bad. Mm-hmm. But very frustrating Dynamite for me. And like I said, I kind of enjoyed Raw. I liked some of the storylines. I liked the Shinsei Nakamura turn, the new look.
I love that.
The cut in the promo in Japanese. And then whatever he said to Seth to make him like freeze up and like not know what to do. Good stuff, man. And I like to the point where I'm like, kind of want him to take that belt. Like, I'd love to see a Nakamura run
out of nowhere too. Like, yeah, it's not okay. Well, you're like, hey, Shinsuke's lost. He lost to Bronson Reed a couple days ago. Okay, so if Shinsuke wins, now Bronson's the number one contender, and there's going to be this weird energy, whatever. Dude, the WWE programs you to remember what they want you to remember, forget what they want you to forget. And this current edition of Shinsuke, strong. I'm really looking forward to a Shinsuke Seth interaction. Both of them, they can operate stiff, and they're both extremely athletic and oddly strong for their build. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I still think Seth leaves your world champion, because this is a trajectory to the title becoming relevant, and or Roman Reigns and Seth crossing paths, and Seth reminding Roman, you realize I'm the only person in WWE you've never beat. And then he'll walk away, and then he's like, whoa, and he's just sitting there like, wise man, where's Jay at? Oh, he's over on Impact. Oh, my bad.
The only thing about Shinsuke winning, though, is then you've set up maybe Cody and Shinsuke down the road, because we've seen Rollins and Cody several times, beat him all 3 times. So I'm like, I don't really want to see that again, but I'm down for a Shinsuke Nakamura Cody feud, which I guess you can do that without the title involved. Although I think they're angling for a Cody Finn Balor run of matches right now, which I'm down for too. I'm okay with that.
Very down. Yep. Yeah. That's an awesome backstory too,
Bullet Club,
because it goes back to so he was what was it, like the second iteration, I think, maybe third iteration, Cody with the dark hair, and that would be, if they could get access to that footage and be able to tell that story from sort of its sort of like an origin story. That would be not when Cody went away and rebuilt himself, and then now here we are.
Because like I said, they've got that history, that Bullet Club history, and then if they really wanted to do some fun Bullet Club backstory stuff, they could bring AJ Styles into the mix, because AJ was actually part of the Bullet Club when
oh my goodness,
Prince Devitt at the time ran it. He was the guy who was part of it, so they were Bullet Club. And I can't remember
totally
who
forgot
betrayed.
about that.
I think they all three left on good terms. Like when Cody was in Bullet Club and all that, I think they were all on good terms. But what would be funny is if they do a Bullet Club storyline on WWE when you got AEW doing a Bullet Club storyline too. New Japan just wins all over the place.
Oh yeah. And where does the OC fit in? Obviously, Michin Mia Yim she hasn't wrestled in New Japan. She did Impact, she did some Indies, NXT, and WWE. But where's the OC fit in? The Good Brothers and AJ Styles. So that would be cool. So if regardless of how it ends, is there some kind of cross-referencing? There's so many. I didn't even think of I totally forgot about AJ, which is awesome. Glad you brought that up. When he left TNA Impact to make a name for himself, only to get brought up to the WWE.
Oh yeah,
that debut at the Royal Rumble, that was awesome. But this is a great problem to have. You've got these wrestlers, superstars that are, arguably toward the back end of their career. A lot of them are in their 40s, and they've got just such rich traditions and histories where they've crossed paths before. And Shinsuke being a boss back in the New Japan days, and that would be fun if they could tell that story. And I don't know if New Japan would be like, well, you can't use our footage, or WWE doesn't want to mention anything from anybody's wrestling lineage. But man, that's gonna be
I agree. And then for those of you that may not have watched or don't know, the Shinsuke Nakamura AJ Styles feud in New Japan, chef's kiss. It was fantastic. They put on some matches that you swear they were really trying to kill each other. They beat the hell out of each other. So good stuff there. So final beard ratings for this week. What'd you give everything? So
I'm having a lot of fun with the stories, with the connecting the evolution. I keep saying evolution. It might have been because I watched on the WWE Network and everybody was talking about factions and stuff today. But just watching how all the storylines are progressing, it feels like every episode they're bringing more stories and more interest to whatever the next pay-per-view is. You've got the Becky Trish, storyline going. I think that's freaking awesome. That's going to finish in a cage, hopefully at Payback, because they missed out on the SummerSlam payday. The AEW has got a lot of really good stuff going on, even with the women's storyline. And I love the character work that Tony is doing. I love Chelsea. I think she's freaking phenomenal. And kudos to Matt Cardona and showing her how to use the internet to get herself over and all of that Chelsea's Got Talent thing. God damn. And you had Matt Cardona trying out. You had Matt Cardona's father trying out. I mean, it was just I just love that shit. So all in all, I'm going to go 3.5 beards. It's been a blast. I can't wait for Saturday, because I know Collision is going to deliver, which just totally blows my mind. I'm interested in Friday how they're going to put the storyline, not to bed, because, to bed is permanent, but they're going to put them down for a nap, and they're going to come back around in a little bit. And, you're going to have to sprinkle them in every now and then, because if you're off the airwaves, people are going to forget and you're going to stop moving merch. So how they, quietly keep that storyline going, I am completely invested in the
because the other thing about that is what else has SmackDown got going for it right now? I just they're going to have to do somehow keep the bloodline relative, or do something relevant, not relative. Relatives, whatever. They've got to do something. There you go. They got to make them relevant relatives.
But
yeah. But before we close, man, what do you think of this Lacey Evans stuff? I know you're a huge fan of hers.
Dude, I Semper Fi, Devil Dog, I wish you nothing but the best. Odd programming note where, a couple days ago she switched from Lacey Evans to her married name, and she's in her little coffee shop in Texas, and extremely interesting to go this route. And I don't know if Charlotte's going to show up in her coffee shop and they're going to have a coffee shop brawl, but to see her go away quietly is kind of interesting. And I blame it on creative, Ric Flair and Vince McMahon, because she got stopped and started 14 times, and then fortunate for her, unfortunate for the storyline, she gave birth, and some crazy, very very interesting. And she got waylaid too by Sergeant Slaughter's family. Slaughter felt a certain kind of way, and he wasn't as disgruntled or disenchanted by the storyline as much as his family was. But so I guess she'll be off of our universal airwave making coffee.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. I didn't know if it was part of a work and they were repackaging her again, but I think Fightful just released that, she's been released. So then my next thought was, are we about to get a bunch of our releases from the merger that they keep talking about are coming? So I'm wondering if she's the first domino to fall. And then my other thought was, damn, she'd be really good in AEW. I'd like to see her join the Outcast.
Yeah, I think she'd be a lot of fun in the Outcasts.
Or TNA.
I think she would be terrific in Impact.
Yeah, Impact.
And I'm trying to get a hold of Rodriguez and El Rey to see if we could get her a mask and we could restart Lucha. And
is the El Rey network even around anymore?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'll get in touch with Prince Puma, Ricochet, and see if he can't pull some strings as one of the champions. But I think she would be awesome, a lot of fun in Impact. If Tessa, wherever Tessa lands, I think that would be a fun feud for her. I was kind of thrown for a loop. I thought she was just getting ready to get repackaged because she got stopped and started again.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with her, I don't think. And that storyline with Ric Flair, and man, that was garbage. Like Ric Flair knocking her up and all this other. I mean, come on.
Terrible.
It was so bad. And I think that just killed her. And that was old man Vince's booking. But I think she's talented. I think given the right circumstances, she could be an asset. She's in Texas. She should reach out to Thunder Rosa and do Mission Pro. Like, get in there and get some reps with Mission Pro Wrestling. Friend of the show, Thunder Rosa and that group.
Thunder Rosa and her team, Tony and the crew, Mission Pro Wrestling, or she hits up Booker T and goes over to his reality of wrestling and get some reps and get some of their young wrestlers over. But it's fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it. You see some superstars go away, and you're like, okay, cool, that's good. That'll give someone else an opportunity because it wasn't working out for you. But I think she was a victim of creative, and unfortunately can be off our airwaves. So Semper Fi, hope you do well, and Godspeed.
Yeah, bottom line is whatever she wants to do, I hope she does it. If she wants to get back into wrestling, great. If she wants to, go run her coffee shop and that's all, cool. Whatever makes the talent happy. I appreciate it. So we mentioned friends of the show. Hopefully that's you guys. We hope you're enjoying everything we're doing. If you are, please like and subscribe. If you are on YouTube, hit the little notification button so you'll know when we go live. We tend to go live at least for sure once a week. We are trying to go twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Life gets in the way sometimes. We have real jobs. This doesn't pay the bills yet. But the more of you that like and subscribe, the more we'll be able to do. Just saying.
Keep it up.
Same with Rumble. Check us out on Rumble. We are live there Tuesdays and Thursdays. Saturdays, we go live Saturday nights on the Fantasy Sports Core channel. Sometimes we'll be live on our Rumble or we'll be on there. It depends on if it gets set up right or not. So check our Rumble out or check theirs out. But Saturday nights we go live. Also, we kind of recap their week. If you watch us Tuesdays and Thursdays, it might be some repeated stuff. But hey, we tend to go on tangents no matter where we're at. Yep. Check out the audio podcast version of this video and whatever else you want to listen over. This is the 101 episode of our podcast. So that'll be out wherever you get your podcast from, No Shave Man Cave. Find us on Apple. Give us those 5-star reviews. Find us on Spotify, all the normal places you get podcasts and some that I've never heard of. Check us out. We're out there. We appreciate everybody. Like, subscribe. Everywhere you can do that. Follow us on our socials, No Shave Man Cave, X, Threads, all of those, Instagram, TikTok. We are out there trying to do more and more on those. So we appreciate it. And if you want to get in touch with us, have some ideas for the show, hit us up on X or email us, noshavemancave@gmail.com. All right, man. Hot tag time. Take us out.
Bump and feed, bump and feed. I'm just waiting. I can't wait. Someone's going to chime us. Someone's going to text. Someone's going to X us. Dirty. You just X'd me. Hey, can you guys do a show about the greatest moonsaults? And I've already lost on that one. But EO Sky, beautiful Tiffany Stratton, close second. But yeah, hell yeah. Hit us up. Let us know what you want to see. We are having a blast. 101. Holla at your boy. Your wrestling veterans, your favorite veterans here in the wrestling space. Thank you for joining us. And we are so jacked you're here. To our brothers and sisters in arms, hurry up, get your ass home. We need you home, and so does your family. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the floor.
You've been listening to the No Shave Man Cave.
If it's pro wrestling, we're talking about it. Unless we see something shiny and wander off into the woods. If you hang around long enough, we'll eventually come back. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Fire off your comments and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at No Shave Men Cave. Y'all be cool, and we'll see you next time on the No Shave Men Cave.